What's the definition of a public democracy?
Good? All right, good. Well, welcome. Quite a bigger crowd than we anticipated. We probably should have used the whole space we have here. So thank you for coming, and hopefully this will be informative and give you a chance to answer or ask questions and get some answers. Today is a kind of a special day, and I would like all veterans to please rise. And those of you standing, please raise your hands. Thank you for your service. And I know this is a special day for you and a special day for all of us to have you with us. What I want to do tonight is to kind of give you a few brief remarks and then run through a PowerPoint that we have very quickly and then move into the primary purpose of the meeting is to hear what's on your mind, questions that you have. I know that there are many people here who are already at no or leaning no. And I'm sure the biggest concern you have is the level of debt we'll be taking on. That's the primary concern, that debt risk. There are others here that are yes or leaning yes. And while you would like to see a new clubhouse and new amenities, one of the concerns you may have or you might have is the competitive risk. If we don't do this and our neighbors and competitors do, what happens to us in the future? There are also some who are concerned that maybe we ought to do just part of this project and not the whole project. There are others that are concerned about how fast we're moving. But in the end, we felt that since we had all the information, we should move forward. There was also an option the board had was that to just stand down and do nothing. And that creates a different risk because it should not be the board's decision to move forward or not to move forward. It should be the members' decision. Because if we had not brought this to you for a vote, in essence, we would have said, we're not going to do this. And then if 3 years down the road, if the competitive risk is the risk that would play out, you would have the right to ask if at that point in time some future board said, we are falling behind, we're not keeping up with everybody else, we have to make some changes. You would have the right to ask, was that board back then asleep at the wheel? Didn't they know what the trends in the industry were? Did they know what the trends in this area were? Did they understand the marketplace? So we didn't feel that it was our job, if you want to say it that way, to make that decision. So that's why it's going to be your decision, as it should be. So let me move to the PowerPoint. I know this is a long way back for you in the back, but these were the goals that we started off with. We wanted to have more casual dining. We found this in every club we went to that had completed remodeling or renovation. Clubs that were in the process, and clubs were talking about it like we were. A larger bar and larger bar area. Our rookery is packed many nights. I was here last week one evening in the rookery, people waiting for seats, standing at the bar. I walked into this room and there wasn't a soul. So people like that atmosphere and being in that room. Out of the sun, outside dining, and we found that very popular with fire pits at other clubs. Upgrade the kitchen, as I said, whether this passes or not, it's something we must do. Our kitchen is inadequate, it needs to be upgraded, and to meet the needs of all those that want to dine here at the club. We're talking about a halfway house with a small bar downstairs, just outside the entrance of the locker room. We've already relocated the scoreboard. We will be expanding the ladies' card room to make it larger. We'll expand into a little bit of the pro shop. We'll provide more meeting space and much needed more storage space. So these were our goals, and we hired an architect and we set about to meet these goals. Okay, early steps. About 9 months ago, we established a renovation committee made up of led by Don Paradiso. We had members, 4 members of the club, some board members, staff, and an architect. that served on that committee, and they've been working for 9 months to get to this point. We visited several clubs, as I said. We visited Bonita Bay, we visited Renaissance, we visited Shadowwood, we visited Windermere, and 4 or 5 others. We hired an architect, partners in Cerny. We hired a kitchen consultant in innovative designs. We met early on with a group of people that included past presidents, but that was real early on. And that was just an informative meeting to let people know where we were headed. And then we selected our general contractor, BCBE.
Go back one.
That one? So recent steps, the board approved the conceptual design. They're on boards around the room. Just tonight, we have the rendering of what the rookery will look like if this is approved. We met with the architect and contractor and got the estimated cost. We received the finance committee's recommendation on how best to finance this program. The board approved to take it to you for a vote, and that's what we're in the process of doing. The meeting, the final vote will occur on November the 19th at 2 o'clock. We put letters on the website, we've sent out the ballots, and so that's kind of where we're at. Estimated cost, first cost we got back was about $7.875 million to do the project. We saw some things in there that we were not going to do. We knew that right up front, so we reduced it to $7.5 million. The down payment that we have from available funds will be about 1.2, and we look to finance 6.3. We met with the bank today and finalized that agreement with them. A great job by our finance committee led by Mike McClyman.
What's the interest rate?
So just breaking down that 7.5, and which this is kind of new information, we're going to have to get it out. The actual construction costs $4.7 million. Then you have non-construction, they call these soft items, architect fees, furnitures, draperies, window treatment, having temporary offices, having a tent with a bar in it, all lost revenue, all kinds of costs associated with making this kind of move. Then we have a contingency, the contractor and the architect built in about 10 to 15% in contingencies, just because they didn't want to come back to us after we went out for bids to let us know that, oh, by the way, our estimates were under what the bids are. So we believe, our contractor believes, our architect believes this is on the high end, not to exceed, and we expect it to be lower. So the total, that's how we arrive at the 7.5 million. Now looking at the 4.7, and this is an estimate. The kitchen and the plumbing, the problems that we have in this building would probably be about 1.7 million. The new bar area would be about $1 million. The terrace $1 million, and the downstairs area would be another $1 million. That's how you arrive at $4.7 million of construction that would take place. And then on top of this, you add the architect's fee, or the soft costs, as well as the contingencies. The loan is a 25-year loan. We got an interest rate of 3.89% locked in for 10 years, which is an amazing rate for this area. And our bank worked with us. We went and got bids from 3 banks, and our current bank is the bank that provided us the best bid. We've got a long-term relationship with them, and they want that relationship continued. The interest rate is fixed for 10 years. Of course, it's then adjustable in the 10th year, and we can pay down or pay off the loan at any time if we're able to do that. What we're talking about here is an incremental increase of $360 a year, $30 a month, and I'll get to what the real total cost is. But that's the incremental increase that you would be seeing, all in capital fees. Today you pay a capital fee of $1,020, and it would go to $1,380. I'm going to hand the mic off to Gary Drewby for a second here. Gary had an interesting analogy I thought would be good to share with you.
Thanks, Larry. For those of you who don't know me, I'm chairman of the Greens Committee. Like most of you, we have informal groups here. I have an informal group I have practiced with every Wednesday. We've done this for years, and more recently with people moving south for a complete year, we're meeting every Wednesday all year round now. But anyway, at this meeting, we kicked around some of the things that we've all talked about this expansion project. And toward the end, they asked me what my position was. And I said, well, I did vote yes for it on the board. And they said, well, what do you think about it? I said, well, consider me having a small house or a small condo. And I'm unable to entertain the people that I want to entertain. I can only entertain 5 or 6, but I'd like to have 10. For $30 a month, I can expand my kitchen, get all new appliances, my entertainment area, I get a new bar, I get new chairs, drapes, balcony outside, I get a fire pit. For $30 a month, how could I say no? So I said, in fact, that's my position. I said, that's a good way to put it. So when I told that to Larry, he said, why don't you mention that tonight? So here it is.
So the capital fee of $1,020 that you currently pay at $255 a quarter would go to $1,380 if you add the $360 to it. So dues and capital fees currently are $95.10. This would take them to $98.70. A lot of people have done the math and said you can't borrow $6.3 million for $360 a year per person for 25 years, and they're correct. $273 will come from the existing $1,020 you pay. The $360 is the incremental increase. You put those two together, $273 out of the existing $1,020 plus the $360 gets you $633 that you will actually be paying, but incrementally only $360 or $30 a month. We remain low in the area, and we don't have, it's very difficult to compare us with other clubs. We don't have a swimming pool, we don't have tennis courts, we don't have a fitness center to subsidize. So we should be on the low end, admittedly. But other clubs range anywhere from about $10,500 when you add their capital fees and dues today, all the way up to over $13,700. And we'll still be under $10,000. Still a real value, as we claim we are, and we are. Why do we want to do this member enjoyment? Like I said, people like being in the Rookery. They like casual dining. Members are different today than they were perhaps years ago when this clubhouse was built properly for how the club was used, the old clubhouse was used. But those times are changing. You can see it changing in the changes other clubs are making. And again, if we want to remain competitive, in our belief, at least this board's belief, we need to make the same changes, because if we don't, we'll fall behind. Timing is good, the economy is good in this area and improving, and Bill Ellenbogen has a comment about something he found about what's going on in the economy right around us.
I was conversing with some people on email discussing their concerns about the budget, and obviously we're all concerned about taking on too much debt. And okay, so what happens in the future? What happens if we get a 2007, 2008 event and things turn south? And we're all concerned. However, let's look at Naples, and anywhere you drive, there are thousands of units being constructed in our area. Thousands. So I went online and I looked, and out the back gate there are somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 units within 2 miles on Vanderbilt alone. I'm sorry, Livingston alone. I'm not Vanderbilt. Livingston alone. If you go over to Vanderbilt, at the corner of Wiggins and Vanderbilt, they're building 585 units. None of these units are accompanied by a golf course. Not a single one of them. And these are all within 2 miles of our gates. So when I say this, I feel like the board has considered the opportunities we have, and also what is the future. And we all look in a murky crystal ball. I can't stand here and promise you that there will never be another problem in Naples. I'd be the biggest liar in the world if I said that. But I really believe internally, I'm a developer, and if I were doing this on a personal basis, and all the developers that are building these condominium units and communities, gated communities, are all betting that the economy in Naples, because of the thousands of retirees that are moving down here. Now you say, okay, why are these people going to come to Imperial? And I would tell you, because out of every one of these communities, some of them will be golfers. Not all of them. The people that move in that high-rise community with 585 units at the corner of Wiggins and Vanderbilt are not necessarily all going to be golfers, but some of them will be. And we will get some of them. It's the reason we have a waiting list. It's the reason that we are now in a very sound financial position. And internally, as a developer, as a board member, I believe we're in a very sound financial position, and we're making a good decision to try and be competitive in the marketplace to capture those people who want to join a golf course community. Thank you.
So the timing, the vote is November the 19th. I know that perhaps some of you have not received your ballots yet. I have received mine, and many have. Construction, if we get approval, we will move immediately to get construction documents completed and approved. We'll apply for Collier County permits. That's a 4 to 6 month process just to get permitting in Collier County. We'll begin construction as soon as we can. After we get permitting, they tell us it's about a 10-month construction progress. Again, I think that's a conservative number. I think they wanted to give us the length of time that it might take, but I think they believe it will be less. And we'll accommodate members during the construction progress, as I said, with tents and other ways to accommodate members so you can still enjoy your golf and grab something to eat and perhaps have something to drink. Mike, if you would, I'd like you to just kind of cover what your finance committee did in working with the bank and coming up with a finance plan. Mike McClimate, our treasurer.
Thanks, Larry. As Larry said, we started with our own bank, who we've been doing business with, I think, for about 7 or 8 years now. We got a proposal from them, and then we decided we'd try a national bank, so we went to Wells Fargo. And then we had another regional bank here in Naples. So we took the 3 proposals they had, and to be honest, our bank had the best proposals, but one of them offered us a fixed rate for 10 years. So we went back, negotiated with our bank, and we got them to give us 10 years, which is very unusual for a project this size. So we felt that the loan rate we got, the relationship we had with the bank, we chose them. As Larry said, we met with them earlier today. So they'll be ready, assuming that we, as a group, vote for this, we can get that money by next Friday. They will agree to the terms, and we won't have to start drawing down on it until construction starts. So it's a very, very good interest rate. We did look at some other methods of financing this. That bad word, assessment, came up, but it was immediately dismissed because the philosophy we followed was that we would like the people who are going to enjoy the amenity to be the ones that pay for it. So we had a large upfront assessment, and you're only going to be a member for another 5 or 10 years. Then you would be paying for something that somebody who bought your certificate years from now would be enjoying. So we thought the best thing to do was to keep the incremental cost as low as possible. To do that, we had to go to a 25-year amortization on the loan. In doing that, we have built in reserves in our cash flow. So people have asked me, what happens if membership goes down? We could, from our forecast now, have 30 less members than we do today and still be able to maintain the debt. The good news on the horizon is we have another loan that was the original loan in this building. That will be paid off about the time that the interest rate adjusts on this one. We also have the equity buyback program. That will be paid off in a period before the current loan, the first loan in this building. So down the road a piece, we have some other revenues that can be used to service the debt. So
Put up against your mouth.
I'm sorry, I agree that having this much debt is not a comfortable feeling, but in the larger picture, I really do think we have to be competitive. We can afford it. We have reserves built into the project. So I'm not concerned that we won't be able to service the debt. Thank you.
Now we come to your turn, but before we do that, I'd like the rest of the board to introduce themselves. Gary, stand up again. And
Gary Gruby, Greens Chairman.
Ryan Dick, Golf Committee.
Troy Baggett, Managing Chairman.
Jim Kirk, Planning.
Andy Baldwin, membership.
Bill Ellenbogen, I do the Housing Committee.
Don Paradiso, Facilities Management, and I also want to acknowledge the 4 people that were on our committee. I actually chaired the Renovation Committee. I saw Ron Ryan here, Walter Flormont was here. I didn't see Sally Peterson was also on it, and Pauline McCowan, so those are the other callers. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate all your help, and I may be tapping you on the shoulder if we move forward with this. Thank you.
I can tell, Walt, he knows you well. He calls you foreman, and your name is Coleman. But I think Ron is here. Ron, where are you at? All right, Paulie, I saw you. Where are you at, Paulie? Stand up. Thank you for serving on the committee. Sally Peterson. And Walt, foreman, where are you? There you are. Okay. The way this is going to work, if you have a question, we'll try and get the mic to you. You'll be able to ask one question. If you have a second, we'll get back to you after others have had their chance. So we're ready to go. Right here.
I have not seen, maybe you've already addressed this. I have not seen, but maybe you have addressed this. I heard nothing about the securitization of the loan. How is it going to be secured? As a first mortgage, second mortgage, some other type of financing? Securing it, what is the method?
The question is how the loan is going to be secured.
Be secured by the asset.
Yes.
But is it a first mortgage, a second mortgage?
It's a separate mortgage.
Second mortgage?
Separate. But it's a second. The first mortgage is 2.2 at 3.4% with an adjustment in 2018 to be paid off in 13 years. This is the second mortgage, 6.3, 3.89%, 25-year amortization with a 3.89 fixed for 10 years.
What is the appraised value of this facility?
The assets are worth $20 million. All right, back there? Yes.
We have to run. Yeah, we'll get it to you. I can hear you.
Yeah, the question is, we have no contract. We go out and get bids, and the bids come back, and they don't match these numbers, what happened? Is that fair? Yes. What happens is we have a $7.5 million max. If it's over that amount, then we will have to cut things or not do the project. It is our best estimate, in talking with our architect and contractors, will be under the 7.5. Next.
Hey Larry, can I answer?
Yes.
something here?
Go ahead.
I am a developer, and part of the problem when you go into a project like this, you have to work off preliminary plans and preliminary quotes. It's always this way. Architecture fees will run, I haven't actually seen the quote on the architecture, but it's gonna be very expensive, a couple $100,000. You don't do full construction plans on a project that is uncertain. You would spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we, as a group, as a board, tried to minimize our upfront costs, so when we got to the vote, if you all turn it down, which you have every right to do as members, we will not have adopted a huge amount of money, $200,000, let's say, in architecture fees. And I feel like this was prudent financial planning rather than poor planning. And so, in answer to your question, I think it would be unfair of us to have gotten to a full set of plans, a full quote, and then have come back with a negative vote, and we'd have, I'm sorry to say it in a crude way, pissed away $200,000 or $300,000.
Thank you, Bill. Yes.
When the loan resets in 10 years, is there a cap on what that reset can be on an annual basis? Because we all remember when the prime rate was 18%.
Now, those are certainly risks to the future that are unknown today. Mike, you want to take that?
Yes.
And did you hear the question? When the loan resets in 10 years, what are the caps or the parameters at that point in time?
As with the current loan we have, it's set at the average of 5-year treasury, as an average of 5-year treasury plus 2.9 basis points. So let's say the rate goes to 5%, and we would pay 7.5% for our loan.
7.9.
I'm sorry, 7.9. Always bad at math.
Wait for our controller.
Now I'm really worried about our project.
Nice one, Mike.
That's our finance chair and treasurer. Currently, 5-year treasury notes are at 1.35%, but who knows what they'll be in 10 years. And remember, also in this, the 7.5 that we were talking about earlier, there's about $900,000 of contingencies in there. And I've been told by a very good friend who's in this room, you gotta be careful with estimates, and you gotta be careful with moving too fast. And we have tried to be very prudent under both, and we do believe the estimates are high. Next, yes, sir.
What about the strategic plan points is that we will not exceed $10,000 in debt. Remember, this will be about $15,000 in debt.
Jim Kirk, head of planning. Yes, in our strategic plan, we set as a guideline that we should not exceed $10,000 in debt per member. And Jim wrote that document, so I'll let him address.
Well, at the time, we felt that $10,000 was a good number, but after getting into to the issue of how we pay for this, and considering, on the one hand, an assessment, and on the other hand, a 25-year loan, even recognizing that the debt per member is going to be somewhere around $13,000 in the early years here, we felt that was the lesser of two evils.
I don't think you're satisfied with that answer. All right.
No.
Go ahead.
Second question. Your mission statement says that we are a golf district.
Yes.
We are not a restaurant, we're not a dining room. So why are we trying to, we're losing $500,000 a year right now.
Okay, the second question.
There we go.
I'll try to answer that.
Repeat the question, so everybody hears it.
Comments is that we hope to increase our receipts by maybe 20 to 25%. Right now, our receipts are $1.3 million a year. Against that, we have over $1 million of payroll. We're losing $500,000. Now, even if we get a 25% increase, taking out cost of sales, that'll only produce about a net of $150,000. So now we're gonna increase our debt, or a loss of about $750,000. What's the point?
Your point, if I got you right, the first one, we're a golf club, not a dining room. Part of the golf club experience, at least for some, maybe not you, is the club, the bar, having a drink, having dinner, meeting with friends, and doing that. And your second question, I gotta move on to others. And your second question about the whole subsidy of $600,000, our revenues are about $1,460,000 in the restaurant. We lost last year about $600,000, as you said. We are a little higher than the average. We're not a bundled community. If you pull the bundled communities out, we would probably be closer to average, but we're higher. We are not doing this project on the basis that we're going to offset that subsidy. We think we'll make a dent in it, hopefully a significant dent. But it's not being done. It's being done to remain competitive. It's being done to provide enjoyment. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes.
No.
I think we ought to use some of this money to buy another microphone.
That's when they made the microphone disappear. That's right.
Thank you. I'd like to build on this first question there. We have, the club is 10 years old, correct? This clubhouse, 12. And we've not had a major weather event impacting us for about 10 years now, since Wilma. My concern is what the impact of this new 25-year mortgage will be on our ability to get any future financing for the structure and the golf course, should there be, I mean, we know that the clubhouse itself is gonna need, within 25 years, probably within 10, some major renovations. So my concern is just the piling on of mortgage or whatever form the debt would be on each of the members' dues and assessments.
Thank you. And of course, any increases will not be through an assessment or through dues. It's going to be capital fees. A wise board a few years ago started a hurricane fund. It's $60,000 is put into that every year. We currently have $360,000. Our hurricane deductible insurance is $600,000, so we're about $240 short. So if we do have a major event, it would be unfortunate, then we would go back to our insurance, and we're trying to get the money. Every year we're putting $60,000 away to cover that deductible. As I recall, a few years ago when we had the hurricane, members were assessed about $750 a member. Next, I'll stay in this area. Oh, next. Oh.
Good evening. My name is Tad Wallace. I've been a member here for many years. Pardon me? I've been a member for many years. I've been wrong occasionally. I voted against this clubhouse, and I was wrong. But I do want you to know 2 or 3 things. I think if you rent a wraparound porch out here, if you're ever sitting in here for dinner and you look outside and you have a view that's absolutely gorgeous. You can even see, if you're sitting over to the side, you can look down, you can see the putting green, you can see everything. Now you're going to be able to look out and you're going to be able to see picnic tables and umbrellas. Okay, now that in itself is going to ruin your dining room. I'm sorry to have to say that, and I also think that if you have an entity like this that continually loses money and pays no rent and no electricity and whatever, Why do you want it double and triple? Now that's number two. And the third thing is, they're talking about putting people all the way around outside, including the porch on the far side. I've been coming here for lunch for all of the years the club has been here. I have yet to see the outside porch there full. So it looks to me like there's not a lot of people that really want to eat outside. Now, if that's the case.
Next. Yes. There was no question there.
No question, sorry. Just a statement.
Especially to see if you can hear me, and you didn't. Unfortunately, I reached that age where I lost my voice, so I do need to make sure that you hear me. I think a prudent club, from a financial point of view, would have at least a 5-year or 10-year plan. Now, we need to be able to assess what the risks are to this club as we look forward. We are a golf club. We already have established that. We're not a restaurant. We're a golf club. The money that we invest should be in the golf courses because that's how we remain competitive. Not as a restaurant, but as a golf course. So spend the money on the golf courses. But let's have a projection over the next 10 years. What money are we going to need to keep these golf courses in a first-class condition? Once we've established that we can meet those needs, then we can think about casual dining. If anybody thinks we're going to make money off casual dining when we couldn't make it off fine dining, they should go down to Jack's on a Monday night and see how many members of this club are eating there rather than here. I think we need to stop this train long enough to we see in what direction we're going. If we can afford this, then good luck to you. But certainly it won't be with me. Goodbye.
Thank you. Again, it's $360 a year. I think the 2 plus 273, 633. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah.
I'm the head of the house committee. I also have been, in addition to being a developer, I ran a restaurant for 25 years. There is a misconception among our membership, universally, and I've tried to fight it on the board, and even the board sometimes resists this idea. We pay approximately, and I'm going to use approximate number too, so please don't call me out and say, don't do a Republican debate and get me down to the last word. But we pay approximately $9,000 a year in dues and capital fees at this moment, approximately, okay, maybe $9,500. And of that, think of a big pie. All right, we have a pie chart, and it's one of the things as a board member I'd like to do. If you would take a pie chart, of that, we lose somewhere close to $2,000 a year in golf operations. No one ever points that out. We do not make money on golf. Now, we're all golfers. I'm a golfer. I love to play golf. But we lose the money on golf. Yes, we lose money on the restaurant operation as well. We joined this club not just for golf. And in answer to the last gentleman who spoke, I'm sorry I didn't catch his name and I've never met the gentleman, and I'm sure we're all well-intentioned. We all want the best for the club. But we don't lose money on the restaurant. We, as a club, decide that we want also, in addition to being golfers, we want a social experience. Very few of us, the minute we walk off the golf course, go home. We come in, we get a beer, we get a cocktail, we go in the locker room. The building costs a substantial amount of money to operate. All of these are where that pie is split. If you were to take that pie and put wedges in it, a portion of it, approximately $700 a year per member, is lost in the house operations, in the restaurant operations, approximately. Approximately somewhere approaching 2,000 years lost in the golf operations. John Lee is a loss, okay? He's costing us money standing here right there.
That's really a bad way to word that.
The electric bill is a loss.
Hey, but
If you want to approach losses, everything we do is a loss. The chemicals we put on the golf course, the taxes we pay on the building, they're all losses. But we pay $9,500 a year, and we agree that of that $9,500, slices of that pie are going different directions. So the idea that we're losing money in the restaurant, if you want no restaurant, we'll close it. You can walk off the golf course, go home, go to your car, and you'll have no expenses in the restaurant operations. I'm sure we can do that. I don't believe the gentleman who spoke wants that type of experience. We all agree that we want some sort of a social experience that goes along with the rest of the golf operations. And yes, a portion of your $9,500 goes towards that.
Yes.
Mike, I've got a question. And one of the most important things to me is to make sure that we are at maximum capacity for our club. That we have 560 members, we have as many royal members as we can, we have as many social members as we can that are paying in. Now we know there's what, 135 clubs or something like that in Naples or more? And we need to compete with every single one of those clubs. Now here's my question. If we had 520 members instead of 560 members, because we could not reach our membership capacity because the services that are provided by our club are not as good as the services provided by the others, what would that number be? What do 40 members pay at Imperial? I'm not just talking dues, I'm talking about cart fees, monies that are spent, for meals, for drinks and everything else. What is that value?
$600,000, between $15,000 and $18,000.
Per person. Okay, now let's multiply that times, let's say, now when I joined, I think we didn't even have 500 members there. Maybe it was about 485 years ago. Now the difference in that value of those members far exceeds the cost we're looking at trying to improve our golf club to make sure we maintain 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the membership that we currently have. You guys, I don't know how many of you go out and play other clubs. I live here year-round. I play 15 to 20 different clubs, and we do not even come close to the amenities that are being offered out there. Now, it is true, we are a golf club, but we cannot remain stagnant. We still have to improve. You still have to get members that are 55 and 60 years old and 63 years old that are currently retiring. Those are the people that we're looking at that are carrying our course forward for the next 20 to 25 years. Those are the important numbers that we have to look at. Yes, sir.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to the board for all your work, and the boards prior to this board, as all of us know in this room, did one hell of a job of taking us through some tough economic times. I think we all agree with that. Any other country clubs, if anybody knows anybody over at Bonita Bay, knows the hell they went through over the last decade because of poor planning. And I don't know, quite frankly, whether the membership wants all of these things, doesn't want all these things, wants to increase the debt from 10 to 15,000 or 13,000 a person. The only thing I don't understand is when you're making this size of an increase in debt, all these new projects, why you didn't do a survey of some kind. And yes, Bill sent me an email last night. Why wouldn't you ask these people what they want and then come back to them meeting what their requirements are, as opposed to just checking with other country clubs, as Bill told me, okay, which I respect, okay? But I think if we've done it just a little bit differently, we'd have a much greater chance to succeed and maybe do 2/3 of the project, half the project, or whatever else these people in this room in the next two meetings want, as opposed to just kind of cramming them. So with that, I'll leave it with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
before we went, that's a fair point, that's a fair point, I've heard the point before. Before we went and visited the other clubs, we sat down and came up with a list of goals that I had in the first slide. As we visited club after club after club, we found that the goals that we had listed were almost exactly what they were doing. And so we came to the conclusion that this is the trend. And so the vote is the ultimate survey. The vote is the ultimate survey, if people want to do this or not. But when you start asking people, do you want this, that, or the other, instead of having one option, you have many, and it becomes confusing. So we made the decision to go this direction. I understand that you do not agree with that, but that's the decision we made. Next. Yes.
Hi, my name is Phil Mayberry, and I pretty much decided that this is going to happen because we're being kind of misled. And there are a couple of things that I think we're not being told the real straight skinny on. The first one is in the operating expenses that we're going to incur. The board has said it's $100,500 a year of additional operating expenses, which may or may not be offset by the revenue that we bring in and hence some profitability from the revenue. I believe that the number is closer to $300,000 or $350,000 a year. You've got employees, because you've got a staff of